from last year. So it's been a great improvement. Now, the students remain standing. I'd like you to hear what I read every day. It's a little bit long for an announcement, but I do it every day because I want to show the kids how important it is and to remind on a daily basis what their responsibility is. We have 98% membership in the RAC Club, so it's been very successful. After the pledge, where they're still standing, and a lot of the kids, the teachers tell me they don't even take their hand away from their heart. As a member of RAC and a student at the Monmouth Area Elementary School, I pledge on this day and for every day after to be kind in every way to every person. I will cheer people up when they are down with a word, a smile, a hand, or an ear. I will be respectful and courteous to all I meet and treat others the way I would want to be treated. I will help them if they fall, for when I raise them up, I rise above any petty thoughts of hate and prejudice that may exist around me. I will not spread lies and gossip, and will always remember that if I don't have a nice thing to say about someone, I won't say anything at all. I understand that violence and weapons have no place in school or community disputes. I will not tolerate bullying or any other acts of harassment and intimidation, and refuse to participate in these unkind acts. I choose to make good decisions and avoid the ones that will have negative consequences for myself and others. I know I have the power within myself to do kind acts, to be a better person, and to empower others around me to do the same. As an American, a citizen of the Monmouth area, and a Bethany minor, I will take a stand every day and have the courage to live by this pledge, because I love my country, my community, my school, and my fellow man. On my honor, I do pledge. Now, some of those words are big for elementary kids, so I've asked the teachers to summarize and define what this means. And our first graders take it very serious and understand what it's about, even though they may not understand every word. So that's what we do with the Random Acts Club and this pledge every day. Usually give a certificate out at the end of the year, but I made a certificate on nice parchment paper for every member, since we're demonstrating principles of Random Acts of Kindness, RAC Club. And I gave it to them, presented to them, each of them in their classrooms. And I said, do not make me come around and have to ask for that certificate back. And they were proud. We haven't had any clubs here. So now they feel as part of the club. They felt real happy to get this certificate. I do see a big difference in overall discipline. Bullies aren't so easy, though, to convince. This week, I sent out. I hit them with that, waited a few weeks, and now as a project, special project under the RAC Club. Some of you parents might have received this on a Friday. Monmouth Area Elementary Random Acts of Kindness, the RAC Club, the No Taunting, Anti-Bullying Promise, and Contract. So I tried to make them be aware that this is just more than a promise, it's a contract. Some of the words and the ideas are the same as the RAC Club, but let me just, this is much shorter. I will eliminate taunting, bullying, and harassment from my own behavior. I will encourage others to do the same. I will treat others the way I would want to be treated. I will show kindness and consideration. I will accept others for who they are and allow others to be themselves. I will do my part to make my school community a safe place by being more sensitive to others. I will set the example of a caring individual. I will eliminate vanity toward others for my language. I will not let my words or actions hurt others. If I don't have anything nice to say about another person, I won't say anything at all. I will promise to be part of the solution and not the problem of taunting, bullying, and harassing at school. Then I realize that the above pledge is not only a promise but a contract. And I realize that I may face school disciplinary action for violating any of the above conditions. The students then will sign it, and the parents, as the parents did for the RAC Club membership pledge, because parents are an important part of this. Now, the last thing I want to say is I've instituted a character building part of our daily actions. After I do the Rags Buck Pledge, I do the announcements, and then I talk about the character trait of the month. For October, it's been cooperation, and I define that. Then every 5 days, I pick a character trait, a story every day. Now keep in mind, this is elementary school. We're doing the last 2 for being a good sport. Then we switch on Wednesday to kindness. On Thursday, I will have this. And I say, our character message for today is about caring. When you are caring, you feel interest or concern for others. Other people's feelings matter to you. You can show your care about your actions by being kind, generous, forgiving, helpful, and understanding. You can also use words to let people know you care about them. And then I say, and our story today about kindness is called The Bully. Morgan stared at the TV and aimlessly changed the channels. Debbie flipped through a magazine, but he kept thinking about what he'd seen that day at school. A boy from the 6th grade class had bullied Brian, a 3rd grader, on the playground. He called Brian names, pushed him down, and threatened to beat him up if he told anyone. And he said he was going to do it again tomorrow. Others had seen the bullying too, but they were scared and didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to be the bully's next victim. Morgan was afraid too, but he felt terrible. Brian didn't deserve to be treated that way. Something else was bothering Morgan. He couldn't stand bullies, but he couldn't stand being called a tattletale. If he told, wouldn't he be one? Finally, Morgan went to visit his neighbor, Jed, an older man he enjoyed talking to. Morgan told Jed about the bully. But I don't want to be a tattletale, he finished. I'm glad you told me about this, Jed replied. Bullies have to be stopped, or they just get worse. When you tattle on someone, you're trying to get him in trouble. But when you report a bully, you're trying to get someone out of trouble. That's the big difference. And then I asked the students, how can reporting a bully be an example of caring? Have you ever seen someone being bullied? What did you do? And then I end with a few things to think about. Make it a great day. The choice is yours. The teachers get a copy of this every day, and they reinforce what I just read over the PA system and discuss it with the students. So that's another thing, a character building thing that I've instituted each day. What I like about this bully is not only tells a story about a bully, but it talks about your responsibility about reporting. So a little story like this, I've been amazed. I've been going around to classes, and I'm amazed at how much detail, names and everything that they remember from the story. So I think it's been a great help, and one of the things I'm trying to do. The last thing is I started a peer ed club down here whose duties are peer helper and peer mediators. I've trained them. They had 2 days of training, and when someone asks for a helper, I assign the helper. What they talk about is confidential, unless it has to do with hurting themselves or hurting someone else, use of drugs, or bullying. So that's one way where a student might be able to open up and get some help when that person themselves feels that they can't report bullying. So all these programs I've tried to institute, these are positive things, besides a strong discipline policy to handle this. But on that thing that I sent home, on the bully pledge, there's a mean bully with a red circle and a line across to stamp out bullying. But in real small letters it says parents, community, family, school system. So the only way we will be successful is if we work all together. And this is a start. Don't feel bad about the numbers. But it starts, and it's very important to have community representation in this. So I thank you very much for coming out today. I guess I'll be turning things over to Chief Cohen.
Tragic stories of young people committing suicide after being tormented by bullies have been widely publicized. I'm sure we've all heard stories of it. So you'd imagine that most people would know how seriously bullying hurts people. Unfortunately, this is not always true. Case in point, middle school athlete is being bullied by his teammates. The verbal abuse began on the volleyball court and then moved throughout the rest of the school. Soon, the girl's teammates were pulling down her shorts in front of others to embarrass and ridicule her. But she did the right thing. Knowing that she didn't have to handle the situation alone, she told her parents. Parents did the right thing. They alerted the team's coach in an attempt to keep their daughter safe. Unfortunately, those who could have kept her safe told the parents that their daughter's experiences were just typical middle school behavior, the usual teenage stuff, and that nothing could or would be done. In this case, it was the coach that refused to act. But sometimes children who are bullied have a difficult time finding anyone at all who will help. It is time for a cultural shift away from silence and acceptance and the excuse that kids will be kids and nothing can be done. Excuse me. Something can be done. And if need be, bullying can be a criminal offense. Now, while some crimes require the perpetrator to pay back the victim the cost of whatever was stolen, for example, how do you pay back to someone who's been the victim of bullying? Example is in the testimony of two students who recently testified before a state government commission on the topic of bullying. The first student is named Sarah, and she said, "When I was in elementary school, I was teased a lot. Different people called me names like fatso, ugly, and would begin to talk about me when they thought I wasn't listening. I couldn't begin to tell you what they would do when the teachers were not around. One thing I will never forget is how they would push me and throw things at my head. At night, I would go to my room and shut the door. I would stay up crying and wish I were dead. I've tried to kill myself many times. Now I'm in high school and nothing has changed. I still want to die, but I do go to counseling to get help. I wish something can be done to stop this." Second student is a young girl named Courtney. She testified, "Every morning I wake up and I ask, why am I still here? I hate this bullying. I wish I could be dead the way some people talk about me and act towards me. It's continuous. It never stops. Every day I get up and go to school knowing what will happen, and it hurts to think about it. I can tell my mom or dad what happens at school, but every time I do, they say, you need to learn how to get along with others. They don't know what it's like for me. I've not tried suicide, but I think that if these kids do not stop, I will. Instead of suicide, I cut myself. My mom and dad try to help me. I'm taking pills and going to teen centers. They do not help. I get hit in the hall, and everyone will turn and laugh. One time, I had a crush on a very popular boy, and his girlfriend would write notes saying they were from him. They were cruel notes. It hurts to know no one likes me." Hearing the testimony of these kids kind of breaks your heart. We need to understand we can and need to do something about bullying. The "we" in that statement is imperative. there is power in community. And the power is not in violence. The power is in standing together to ensure that bullying does not happen in our community. Now, I know how parents